He is, God, he has got so much damn potential.
He definitely does.
So much potential.
But he comes back from every fight that he's had better, you know? I mean, when one of the most impressive ones was he knocked out Klitschko. Oh my God.
Klitschko's seen better than...
Change, another inconsistency in Anthony Joshua. I now understand, I believe having watched this, where Jake Paul is getting his confidence from. How he's built this narrative in his head that he genuinely has a chance. I think the thing to remember here, though, is that Anthony Joshua doesn't struggle against all smaller fighters.
This might be his last fight, getting in there with Anthony Joshua and getting knocked out.
Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson break down the matchup between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, clearly pointing out the major differences in their skill levels. Tyson says Joshua needs to control his punches because Jake is nowhere near his level. Rogan adds that Joshua is one of the scariest men in boxing, and that Jake is taking a huge risk stepping in against such a powerful heavyweight.
Of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're gonna fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight so you could see. Let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him. It was spectacular. Andy Ruiz is...
Especially since Jake has only fought retired or much older opponents before. The Wade Concept host explains that for Jake Paul, getting knocked out by one clean punch from Joshua is actually safer than taking repeated shots. For 8 full rounds, continuous damage can cause long-term injuries, while a single knockout ends the fight immediately. Although Joshua must use smaller tennis gloves for this match, the danger for Jake remains high. Smaller gloves increase the chance of knockouts because there's less padding. The host stresses that despite the exhibition-style rules, Joshua's strength, skill, and experience create a massive gap, meaning every punch Jake takes comes with serious risk.
Serious consequences.
But the thing is, there really is only one outcome that can hurt Jake in this scenario, and that's that he gets viciously knocked out. Or he gets beat up really bad for 8 rounds and then viciously knocked out. I saw Nikisa talking on Ariel Helwani's show today about this, about like how it's not necessarily something they're worried about that Jake gets knocked out, because he's not afraid of the one-punch knockout as much as he's afraid of like Jake getting beat up for 8 rounds badly and it, you know, causing some real cognitive damage. And there is science behind the fact that the more repeated head trauma is the more dangerous thing about pro boxing, because those gloves, you can get hit, you get 8 to 10 seconds to stand, and you can repeat it 2-3 times in the same fight, just absorbing punch after punch. So in the totality of Jake getting like knocked out cold, is that the worst thing possible for his health? I mean, who knows, dude? You could have a freaking brain aneurysm when you get hit off one shot from a guy like AJ. Again, knock on wood, you don't want to see any of that happen. If his career ends because AJ hurts him badly, then yes. But if it's a knockout where Jake is able to then continue fighting, people will still watch. It may not be as big as the AJ fight, but he still has an opportunity to make money in boxing. Again, the only way it wouldn't be the case is if Jake got like permanently injured from this fight, which is part of the reason that they take this fight, is because Jake doesn't really have anything to lose here, outside of, again, the bodily harm. You know, you fight a guy like Tommy Fury again, which I want to see, I think is more competitive, but doesn't bring the eyes that AJ does. So again, this is the entertainment business, and these Netflix fights are made for a massive audience. But you lose to Tommy Fury again, even by decision, that deflates Jake more than a knockout from Anthony Joshua. A loss to KSI deflates Jake more than a loss to Anthony Joshua. This is a perfect, even if Jake would have gotten just schooled by Gervonta Davis, it would have deflated him more than a knockout, I think. Yeah, it's a lot of risk, a lot of reward, but as far as your marketability, as long as you don't get permanently injured, which is a big if.
Nakisa Badarian explains the reasoning behind choosing Joshua as Paul's opponent.
Nikisa Badarian explains why Anthony Joshua was chosen as Jake Paul's opponent. Since the event is being filmed for Netflix, the fight needed to be big, dramatic, and visually exciting. Joshua fits perfectly. He's a global star, a former world champion, and a fighter with huge media appeal. His involvement raises the stakes and creates a powerful storyline. Netflix's documentary coverage makes the matchup even more intense and attractive to fans. Ryan Garcia talks about how this fight could completely change Jake Paul's life if he loses. He warns that Joshua's power is extremely real.
Included Tommy Fury, that included Anthony Joshua. And we probably had I don't know, 30 or 40 names that we kind of reviewed. And I will say at least 12 or 13 names that agreed to do the fight. Some within the 2-week period, actually. But from a Netflix perspective, they were very keen on Joshua. They were interested on Crawford. They were interested in Ryan Garcia as potential opponents for Jake Paul. They were interested in Tommy Fury at some level as well. And the one that Jake gravitated towards was Anthony Joshua. Once it became clear Ryan couldn't do the fight as well, Ryan was also something that he was interested in doing. And the deal came together mostly because Jake mentioned this as of March of this year, right? That's the first time he was on a podcast and said, I think I can beat Anthony Joshua. Everyone laughed. At the time, Eddie Hearn said this is another, media attention-seeking moment for Jake Paul. I made it clear then to Eddie and to the media, Jake was serious and we wanted to do it in 2026. We had further conversations with Matchroom in July of this year with the understanding that if Jake got through Tank Davis, and even though that was an exhibition, it was very much structured to be a real fight in every way, shape, or form, then we would look to make Jake versus Joshua in 2026. So that gave us a head start in terms of trying to come to an agreement with Matchroom and AJ, and we were able to get it done.
I just want to ask about a couple of those names that you mentioned. Garcia's interesting because a day or so later, Oscar De La Hoya said he's a DAZN fight.
And that the consequences could affect Paul physically, mentally, and professionally. Garcia points out that Jake's reputation and future career path could shift dramatically, depending on the outcome. For Jake, serious preparation and awareness of Joshua's threat are absolutely necessary. Frank Martin says that even though the fight promises huge money, it is still a very dangerous challenge for Jake Paul. Money doesn't reduce the physical risk. Martin emphasizes that this is not just a big payday fight. The danger is real. Jake is stepping in against a seasoned, elite-level boxer whose experience can't be matched by fame or promotion. The financial reward is massive, but so are the physical and reputational risks.
Leaves an odd taste in your mouth. So as long as AJ gets the job done, and I mean gets the job done, shows his world-class pedigree and wipes this boy out, then everybody's happy. But how does it enhance his career? The only way it enhances his career is financially. That's it. No other way. There's no props from beating Jake Paul, apart from saying, thank God you shut him up. For Jake Paul now, I got to give this boy props, because he now has our attention and the whole world is talking about Jake Paul.
I want to say a big thanks to our sponsors, Bet Goodwin, for supporting that boxing show. Now, if you're interested in having a little flutter, or as I call it after my dad, Benji's Bets, Bet Goodwin's the place to be. Check out Bet Goodwin using the QR code on the screen.
I'm probably 90% thinking the fight's going to happen, but I'm struggling. I'm thinking, this boy can't be so stupid. But then you hear a whisper. You hear a whisper that Jake Paul himself might be cashing out, because the big purses that he's pulling, fighting these has-beens or ex-fighters, they're dropping slowly but surely. So maybe, just maybe, this might be his last fight, getting in there with Anthony Joshua and getting knocked out. But there's always that conspiracy theory. Are there some contract agreements that can and cannot be done, which will never see the light of day, that we don't know about? Well, if you're an ex-fighter, and if you like the fight game, you'll see fake. You'll know fake when you see it. So if there's any of that fakery going on with this, pulling a shot, taking it easy, giving man a bit of a breather.
Johnny Nelson explains that this fight could potentially mark the end of Jake Paul's boxing career. If he gets knocked out, Jake has become a major payday for top fighters like Joshua, because he offers big financial incentives. Nelson mentions that some people believe Paul might not get similar high-profile fights again if this bout ends badly for him, both because of the physical toll and how the public sees him afterward. This matchup is crucial for Paul's future and may define the direction of his boxing career. And that's the full breakdown. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss the next big boxing update. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.